about some of the very Windows-like commands, like the fact that we have a start menu, how you can navigate up and down the start menu, just using the scroll buttons, the fact that we have a dedicated button to go to the start menu, that we have dedicated keys for the menus, etc. So we're going to give just a general overview of some of the things that the BrailleSense U2 can do, and then I have a section at the end here where we have time for demos, which we can also use for questions, so that if we have BrailleSense users in the crowd today who would like to ask questions, this will be your chance. And if we don't have folks who are BrailleSense users, then you are subjected to my whims as far as what we'll show you and what we'll see happen on the BrailleSense. So for those who aren't familiar with what the BrailleSense is, the BrailleSense is a note taker from HIMS. HIMS has been in the North American market for since the early part of the 2000s. It used to be distributed by GW Micro, and we've had our own offices in the US and Canada for the last 6 or so years. HIMS makes a number of blindness and low vision products. You may be familiar with some of our other products, the Smart Beetle, the Braille Edge, the Blaze, and then for low vision we have a number of products including the eBot and the Go Vision. The BrailleSense is our flagship product. It is our note taker. We believe that it offers one of the more versatile sets of features that are on the market today. It comes in 3 different sizes. For starters, you can get the BrailleSense U2, which is our standard 32-cell Braille note taker with a Braille display note taker with a Braille keyboard. You can get the BrailleSense U2 Mini, which is awfully cute. It's the tiniest note taker on the market with a Braille display. It will easily fit in a pocket and a purse. And we have the U2 QWERTY, which has a full computer keyboard and, again, a 32-cell Braille display. The U2 Mini has an 18-cell Braille display. And I have a lot of this. This is not meant to be a sexist type remark, but the U2 Mini seems to appeal a lot to girls and women who want to put it in their purses, which is fine with me. So it's very cute and very small and very lightweight. It's under a pound, so that'd be what, under a half a kilogram. So it's very lightweight. So the BrailleSense comes in 3 sizes, which leads to the first question: are there any features missing on the different sizes? And the answer is no. The hardware is exactly the same. It has the same board in all 3 products. There are a couple of hardware differences. And Martin, I realize we're skipping around a little bit. We'll get back on track. There is a small LCD screen on the BrailleSense U2 that is not on the Mini or the BrailleSense U2 QWERTY. There is the ability to plug in an external visual display or to use VNC Viewer, so that you can use an iPad or a computer or a smartphone or a Galaxy, whatever you want, as a visual display. So there are no differences in features. There are a couple hardware differences, but that's about it. One of the things that makes the U2 such an easy thing to use is that we do have dedicated buttons on the BrailleSense that will take us to that will operate just like the computer. And I'm going to turn my voice on my BrailleSense.
Voice on.
And I'm going to press Function key 1, and if you don't have a BrailleSense in front of you, which you probably don't, above the Braille keyboard there are 4 function keys, 2 on either side of the space bar. And the furthest one to the left, which is called Function key 1 in the documentation, will take you to the Start menu, and it announces the first choice in that Start menu, which is File Manager.
File Manager, F.
And at this point, it's just like when you're using a PC. I can use first letter navigation if I wanted to go to the word processor or email or to the internet, or I could just use my scroll buttons. There are 2 scroll buttons on the Braille display, on the left and on the right, and I can press the scroll down button and I just move through my Start menu.
Word processor, W. Document reader, K. email, E.
And you notice that we're getting shortcut keys so that you could use E to jump to email.
Media, M.
You could use M to jump to media. One of the really cool things that we'll get into a little bit later on is in the Media Center, we have an app to make downloading the audio from YouTube videos a snap. It makes it really easy.
Organizer, O.
The organizer has our calendar, our date book, and a database manager.
Web tools, B.
Web Tools has all kinds of stuff from the internet browser to an app to make Google searches that much easier. The cool thing about our app is that it strips out all the ads, so you don't have to look at a bunch of ads and click here's and that type of stuff when you're using our Google search. We have a web browser that will work with and without Java.
Social networking, C.
This is where the students start to get interested because we've got social networking. You can do Facebook, you can do Twitter. Teachers, the good news for you is you can also lock those out. So it's a perfect world for everyone. And again, I'm just scrolling through the start menu here.
Extras, X.
Extras has all kinds of things that we weren't sure to put somewhere else, like the access to Dropbox. This is where our dictionary is, etc.
Library services, L.
And again, we'll get into some of this later on. I've veered off my PowerPoint, which I always do. But our library services is an easy way to download books, whether it's from CNIB or from Bookshare. You have tools that will work for both, that will download your book, that will unzip your book as either DAISY or Braille formatted files and put them in whatever folder you want.
Games, G.
The games, I would like to say for the students, are really exciting. The truth of the matter is they're really not. They're very basic games, but you can go out onto the internet with our internet browser and find other games. And there are a few exciting games. We have a game called Chase a Criminal that people like and some things like that.
Programs, P. Utilities, U.
Programs that I skipped over just has some BrailleSense specific programs that will vary from unit to unit. And under utilities, you have things like your screen reader, your scientific calculator, your VNC viewer, which I talked about a little while ago. And so that's just kind of a quick tour of your start menu. And now what I'm doing on my BrailleSense is I'm just moving back over to the word processor where I have my PowerPoint file loaded so that I can continue to go through the slides. And one of the really cool things that we can do on the BrailleSense is not only can we view PowerPoints, but if I'm plugged in to an overhead, like a big monitor or a projector, the sighted people can actually see the images from the PowerPoint so that I don't have to use a computer and a Braille display to run a PowerPoint. I can do it directly from the BrailleSense. Like any good note taker, we've got help on demand, and it's just space plus H, or if you're using the QWERTY model, it's going to be insert plus F1, which is going to be the same key that you would use for help on your computer. So we try to use, whenever possible, commands that are going to mimic what you would use on a computer, because as we'd like for you to have to learn two systems as little as humanly possible. So context-sensitive help is available with space plus H or with the insert plus 1 on your QWERTY keyboard. And that's available from any time, anywhere on the note taker, and it is context sensitive. So if I'm doing that in the word processor, it's going to give me word processor help. If I'm on the internet, it's going to give me internet commands. As I said earlier, we think you would have everything that you would expect from a note taker and more. We've talked about our word processor a little bit, and we've talked about the web browser and email. We do have a media player and a scientific calculator. The scientific calculator, you are able to input data in UEB or NIMS, and if I remember correctly, Canada is mostly going to UEB, but for folks who are still using NIMS, we do still support it. And we'll have more to say about NIMS and UEB in a little bit. We do have an organizer and a book reader. The book reader will allow you to read books, DAISY books, with being able to put bookmarks into DAISY books. You can actually also record files in DAISY. We do have a one-handed mode so that if folks need to use the BrailleSense in one-handed mode, we do. We also just posted a video a couple of weeks ago, it's probably about a week ago, on how to use the BrailleSense in one-handed mode. We have a very active YouTube channel that I would encourage you to look at for documentation on, or videos on different features of the Braille Sense. And I will send Martin a link to our YouTube channel when this is over, along with a link to a couple of other online resources that you can use. We do have VNC mode, so if a teacher wants to be able to sit at their desk and look at a student's work from the teacher's iPhone or iPad to help out the student, the teacher can do that, so not limited to just using our little visual display. And that VNC mode is pretty new. That's available as of a couple of weeks ago. That's version 8.6 of your firmware. If you haven't updated to version 8.6 of the firmware for the folks who are using Braille Senses out there, you can do so online. All of our updates always have been and always will be free, and we're very proud of that. And as long as I'm working at HIMS, they're going to be free. Now, we were talking about math a little bit ago and how you can write a NIMS and UEB in the calculator, but you can also write a NIMS and UEB in the word processor and have the results printed correctly. And this is a significant difference from anything else that's out there. And the PowerPoint, for those of you who are logged into the computer at this point, we have visual representations of what your math would look like entered in UEB or NIMS, printed from a computer. And you'll notice that it's just regular math, so that you're not getting words for math symbols, you're getting the actual math symbol, so that you're not seeing the word frac or fraction or something. You're just actually seeing the math symbols as they should be. And that's a significant difference from anyone else that's out there. You can also correct the paper as a teacher and send it back to the student, and the paper can be open, or the document can be opened, and the student would still be able to see all of the math symbols correctly. So you've got the immediate issue eliminated of having to worry about if math needs to be transcribed or anything like that. The student can turn in their own work at the same time as their visual counterparts are doing. Something else we talked about a little bit ago was the PowerPoint viewer. There's nothing special you have to do for PowerPoint viewer other than turn the visual display output on your Braille Sense, which is under your options menu, and then you simply load a PowerPoint file into the word processor. If you and I were sitting in the same room, you would be seeing images from the PowerPoint just like you are on the computer screen, except they would be coming from my Braille Sense and being sent to a screen or an overhead projector. And again, that's really cool. It means I don't have to use a Braille display and a computer to be able to have access to a PowerPoint. Then you're relying upon your screen reader reading it correctly, the Braille display reading it correctly from the screen reader, etc. So it's really nice just to be able to have one piece of technology to be able to run my PowerPoints. Something else we talked about a little bit ago that we touched on when we were talking about social media is we do have function lock, which we also refer to as test-taking mode. It can also be used for parental controls or to customize the menus so that you can have a simpler menu structure. If you want information on function lock, it is not in the user guide, which is intentional. We did not put function lock in our user guide because we would like to keep nefarious types of folks from getting access to it and then goofing up their Braille Senses and telling their teachers that their Braille Senses aren't working when their Braille Senses are working fine. The features have just been locked out. So we're trying to keep the information in the hands of folks who can actually use it and not have it just out there. The way that function lock works is you type in a password and then you hit tab, which is also function key 3, and you type that password in again, and it freezes the Braille Sense in its current state, so that you go into something called Menu Manager and you decide what features you want to have on or off. And it's not only just features as far as programs, like not just turning something like Facebook or Twitter on or off, but I can do things like keep someone from, I can lock speech out so that a student can only use Braille. A student who's trying to drift more towards just listening to things, and I want to force them to be able to use the Braille display. I can lock the spell check out. I can turn the dictionary off or on. So I've got a lot of flexibility as far as features from within programs that I can turn on or off, as well as actual programs that I can turn on or off. We do have a fail-safe in place so that if you forget your password and your BrailleSense is stuck in function lock and you're missing a bunch of features that you want, you can call HIMS, and we do have a recovery mode where we get some information from your BrailleSense and we give you a ridiculously long series of letters and numbers that you type in, and we can unfreeze your or unpassword protect the features on your BrailleSense. So that's just basically a fail-safe built-in for you. We also, if you're wanting to use the BrailleSense just in exam mode and lock everything out and just have the BrailleSense available as a Braille terminal, we do have a way of doing that. And again, it's just password protected. You hit both scroll buttons and the letter L, and it will prompt you for a password. You write that password, hit tab, write that password again, and then the BrailleSense is frozen in basically terminal mode. This feature was added primarily for standardized testing. In the U.S., we have companies like Smarter Balance that are giving standardized tests, and this allows for the BrailleSense to be used on those tests. We have a number of really unique features to the BrailleSense U2. We have a lot of customized apps on the BrailleSense. We have a customized app for Bookshare, and I believe that Bookshare, more and more of Bookshare is available in Canada now. It used to just be uncopyrighted works, and now I believe you have access to a lot more of Bookshare's content. And you could certainly just use the web browser to download books from Bookshare, but what this does is it basically allows me to just type in, it remembers my username and login. It allows me to just type in the name of the book that I want, and the BrailleSense automatically downloads it and then puts it into the folder that I want. And sort of to give an example of that, I'm going to go to my file. I'm going to go to my Start menu by pressing Function key 1, which will take me to the Start menu and announce File Manager.
File Manager F.
Under File Manager, my Bookshare app is under Library Services, so I'm going to scroll down to Library Services.
Word Processor, Document Reader, Email, Media, App Organizer, Web Tools, Social Network, and Extras, Library Services, L.
And I could have just used L for Library Services, but I wanted to scroll through the entire menu to get there. And I'm going to press Enter.
Bookshare, B.
And the first option is Bookshare. Now the next option, if I kept going on down,
Online Daisy,
is Online Daisy. And this is where you would be able to log in to the CNIB database and to be able to download books. And the reason that I'm using Bookshare as an example is I don't have access to the CNIB since I'm not a Canadian. So I'm going to go back up to Bookshare.
Bookshare, B.
And I got there just by pressing my scroll up button. And I'm going to press Enter. And now Bookshare is connecting. It already has my login information because I typed it in before. And so it's going to automatically log me into Bookshare. And it's going to ask me what type of book I want to search for. This is when I'm going to hope that my Wi-Fi network is doing what it should be doing.
Select search mode, books.
Now I can search for either books or periodicals. I want to search for a book, so I'm just going to press Tab, which is Function key 3.
Select search method, search word.
And I will search by word. I can also search by list for things like the most popular books from Bookshare. But I'm going to go ahead and press Tab.
Search words, enter title, author, or ISBN.
And I don't know what book we should look for. We'll look for something with the word Canada in it. So we'll type Canada, C-A-N-A. I'm writing one-handed, so I'm being very careful here since I've got the phone in the other hand.
Searching.
And now we're searching. It's going to find lots and lots of books with the name Canada in it. And then we'll just show you how easy it is to download.
Reaching up for map of 1-250.
And Canada is also going to be included in the abstract or the description of a book.
Stick type got 250. Elvis with Love 3250.
No, To Elvis with Love must have Canada somewhere in the abstract. I'm not going to find it. I'm just going to press Enter to show you how easy it is to download a book.
File download dialog box. Select format, Daisy.
And I can select either Daisy or BRF, and I can use the space bar to toggle between the two.
Daisy.
And I press enter, and I'm done. And that's all there is to it. And I'm backing off from the Braille Sense a little bit as it downloads the file, and then it's going to also unzip the file. And again, you do have this available for books from CNIB through our online DAISY program. And if there's anyone else who's logged in from the States, we also have a BARD. This is my favorite feature. It's going to automatically unzip the book for me. And now we're done. Now that book is on my Braille Sense. So it's hard to get simpler than that. So I don't need the app, but it just makes life a ton simpler for me. And as I was saying, we do have an app also for the National Library Service, or BARD, here in the U.S. We have the other app that I was referring to a while ago, our Google Search app, which eliminates all the ads. Again, I could just go to my website and go to my web browser and load up Google, but then I get to deal with all the ads that are there, and I don't really want to deal with the ads. So I'm more than happy to use our no ads Google Search. We have an app for Dropbox, so that we have full Dropbox support. You can send files, and you can add files, delete files, send files. For those of you who aren't familiar with Dropbox, it's a cloud-based application. We have a really cool app for YouTube, so you can listen to the content of YouTube videos, and you can also download the audio content of videos onto your Braille Sense U2. And I believe we have a whole video on our YouTube channel on using YouTube, which always just seems funny to me to have a video on YouTube about YouTube. We also have customized apps for Facebook and Twitter. And part of the reason that we have apps for Facebook and Twitter, again, you could just go to the website, but we try to make them easy, and also they keep changing the apps from day to day, week to week, month to month, so that if I'm trying to access the Facebook or Twitter app on my phone or on my computer, they keep changing it on me, and on the Braille Sense, we don't keep changing it on you. So you've got access to your social media apps without having to worry about if you're going to, what it's going to look like today. We also do have an optional dictionary and thesaurus that is available in 5 languages. English, actually it's more than 5 languages now. It's English, French, German, Italian, Spanish, Arabic, and beyond that I forget. But you do get 2 languages when you get the dictionary. So you have a first and a second language, and it includes a translator between the 2 languages so that I could type in a word in English and see its French equivalent come up in our dictionary, which is pretty exciting. And I would also have my full French dictionary available. And that is an accessory. As I mentioned earlier, all of our firmware updates have and always will be free. We were the first to introduce the concept of online firmware updates. So if you aren't running version 8.6, which does have the VNC viewer mode where you can look at your tablet as a visual display, right after we finish here, you can run out and grab that firmware for free. Be on the lookout for another major Braille Sense firmware release by the end of the year, but I can't tell you any more than that, or they'll make me go into hiding, and I don't want to do that. Now, our last slide that we have here, I'd like to leave open for a little bit of interpretation. We've seen a little bit of what the Braille Sense can do as we're moving along here, but I'd also like to open it for questions at this point. My guess is that we have folks who have some degree of familiarity with the Braille Sense that are with us today. I'm happy to take the Braille Sense through various features, but I would also like to have a chance to answer your questions and also to make it do things that you have specific questions about. So, Martin, I'm going to turn it back to you to see if we have any questions that folks have, and we'll answer from there.
Yeah, we had a question come in over the chat from Julia, and she had asked if there were if there was any support for the public library book system, Overdrive. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I am familiar with Overdrive. The short answer is not really. The problem has been with the way that they time out their books. We are actively working on that, but I don't have support for overdrive at the moment.
And I'm just going through another question that she'd posed about the PowerPoint. Is it just a viewer, or can you actually compose your own PowerPoint presentations? I believe I answered correctly in saying it was just a viewer, right?
It is just a viewer, and realistically, and this is, I sometimes get into trouble with this line of conversation, so bear with me until the end of it. I have yet to ever really see a blind person create a decent PowerPoint. As a blind person, I have created them, and the results look like a blind person created them. And I'm not saying this to justify the fact that you can't create a PowerPoint on here, but I think just in general, a word to the wise. When I want PowerPoints created, I bribe people to do it. I have folks in Austin, in the Austin office that I use to create my PowerPoints, and I keep them happy. As a student, if I'm required in a class to make a PowerPoint, it's a really good time to carry that friend's book bag or make them cookies or whatever else it is that they want. You know your friends better than me. But I've always found that bribery resulted in much better looking PowerPoints than if I tried to create them, or begging or finagling or something. I can create a PowerPoint, but it does not look very good.
I'll open it up to anybody out there who has any other questions for Dave or myself, or Jeff for that matter.
Hi, this is Mike. I'm just wondering what's the memory capacity?
The memory is the storage on board is 32 gigabytes. It does also have an SD card slot. I have I've forgotten if it's a 64 or 128 gigabyte SD card that I have in here. My PowerPoint is loaded onto a 128 gigabyte USB thumb drive that I have plugged into one of the 3 USB ports. This shows what type of a geek I can totally be. I've plugged it into my external 2 terabyte hard drive, and it did work. It wasn't all that happy, but it did work. I just wanted to see what would happen. And so then I plugged a second 1 terabyte hard drive into it at the same time, and it still survived.
Okay, thank you.
Sure thing.
Quick question. This is Julia. Quick question about the ads on the web browser. Is that just the ads are removed from Google search or from every page?
From Google search. And actually, here's the way that works. Let me further explain that. When I go into Google search, like I'll go to my start menu. Let's turn the voice back on.
Voice on. File manager F.
And now I go to the web section.
Web browser B.
And I go to the Google search.
Connecting, please wait.
And at this point, I can type in a search term. I usually type in something like frogs. So if I type in frogs,
searching.
I can't explain my hang-up with frogs. It always makes for an interesting Google search. And now I have little Braille cells marching across the Braille display so that I know that it's actively doing something.
Frog Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia 164.
And it shows 64 results. We all know that there are going to be millions of results with frogs. I can have it show the next 64 results. Why we stopped at 64 instead of 100, or why we didn't stop at 50. Somebody's favorite number was 64 the day that we decided this. But at this point, I have no ads.
Frogs, frog facts, Miss Ampersand, more vertical bar exploratorium 264.
Now, where I do get ads is if I hit enter to go to the Exploratorium website, at that point I'm going to start seeing ads and the full and just the full website. So where I'm not getting ads is just, when you pull it up and you get that whole thing, Google works better with Chrome, and then you have most popular sites and suggested sites and all the ads that come up in the initial Google search. That's what I'm not getting. But as soon as I go to look at a result and go on to an actual web page, I'm going to see whatever that content is on the web page. Does that help explain sort of a little bit about what we can and can't do as far as ads go?
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. This is the part of the webinar where I start to feel like it's a game show and we're waiting to see who's going to stump Dave.
I think you may have gotten away with it, Dave.
I win.
Another quick question,
Dave.
Sure.
It's Valerie. When you were going down through your start menu, I noticed that you had programs, and I don't have that. Why is that? And I just did the update the other day. So,
programs is an elusive folder that only shows up if you have added something. Like there are a few games that one of our tech support guys, Lewis Bryant, has written that would be in the programs folder that aren't part of the general update. There are other things such as the Bible that are downloadable that go into the programs folder. Unless you've specifically downloaded one of these external programs, you would not have a programs folder.
Oh, okay.
So you're not missing anything.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure I saw the message that the update was successful. So I just wondered why I didn't have that.
And as soon as I hit programs, I knew I was in trouble, and I tried to sort of skip over it, and it didn't work. I got caught.
Not going to happen.
But that's what it's there for. Lewis Bryant, who's one of our tech support guys, has written games like Blackjack and some other stuff, and external programs that have been written through our developer kit for the Braille Sense show up in the programs folder.
You know, Dave,
you're not
this
missing
is Jeff
anything
once again
yet.
from. Yeah, that's right. You guys, you can hear me? Dave, you can hear me?
Yes, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Jeff, once again from HIMS, guys. One of the things I just kind of wanted to underscore, Dave was talking about it a bunch. When I was doing training last week, I was absolutely amazed at how nice it was, how refreshing it was to use my YouTube for things like Facebook and Twitter, which, again, you said the magic thing, Dave. Twitter teachers can disable this if needed. But this is much easier to me even than doing it on my phone, which, of course, I've done that lots of times on my iPhone as well. But they really did a phenomenal job, not only being able to move very quickly from to post, let's say, on Facebook and tweet to tweet on Twitter, but also there are hotkeys that are built in there to send retweets, for example, or to tweet to begin with, or all the things that you want to do on those clients. They've written in hotkeys to do that. So, as Dave mentioned, as that app is changing almost daily, as the website changes, this is a way that has pretty much stayed the same, but it's also very verbose and really, really powerful.
Thank you. I could not have said it better. I'm not much of a social media person, so when it comes to social media, I have to rely on the limited times that I've actually used our app.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
One other thing just to point out, one other thing just really quickly to point out that is on here is we have a really cool terminal clipboard feature which allows you to edit text before the text is sent to your iPhone, so that you can use all your Braille Sense edit commands and make sure that you don't run into any funny translation issues with the iPhone. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to toss that feature in while I was thinking about it, and I have no attention span, so I have to do it while I'm thinking about it. Go for it. Bring on a question.
Is there any optical character recognition or plan to have optical character recognition in the U2?
The closest I can get for optical character recognition with the U2, it will work as a Braille display with our Blaze ET, so that you can use a Blaze ET, which is a digital book reader. It's a full digital book reader with a camera for optical character recognition, and you can see the results on the Braille display of the Braille Sense U2. The U2 itself does not have a camera built into it, so there would not be direct optical character recognition from the Braille Sense, but it is extraordinarily easy to hook that Blaze ET up to the Braille Sense and use it as a Braille and use the Braille Sense as a Braille display. We actually developed a one-key key press to do that. When you have your Braille Sense in terminal mode, you can press and hold the 0 button on the Blaze ET, and as long as that Braille Sense is the only HIMS device around, it automatically connects and doesn't make you do anything else. So you don't have to do any pairing or anything. Now, if there are more HIMS devices around, then it starts to ask you questions like which one you want to pair to. But we do have optical character recognition available through our Blaze ET on our Braille display.
I was thinking more so, thank you. I was thinking more so of files. Like if someone had an image file that they had sent. And then second question, actually I'll let you answer that one first.
Okay, the image files, again, I have unless I have an actual OCR engine built into the Braille Sense, I don't have a way of doing that. Okay, but I can put an image file on the Blaze and have the Blaze recognize that image and see it on the Braille display of the Braille Sense.
Can you put it there from the U2? Can you put it
all I would
from
have
the U2 to the Blaze?
I would have to save the image file onto a secure digital card and put that secure digital card into the Blaze, and then yes, I'd be able to move it from one to the other.
Okay. And when the U2 is hooked up as a Braille display to the Blaze, I'm assuming that you can't copy the text directly from the Blaze, and you'd have to use what the Blaze translated onto the SD card and back to the U2. Is that correct?
That is correct. We are actively working on being able to copy text from the Blaze and to give you some significant keyboard navigation, but we are not there yet.
Okay.
It is something we are extremely interested in doing.
Thanks.
Thank you. Other questions from out there? Just heard the satisfying click of a Braille Sense in the background.
Well, I think we're probably ready to wrap up, Dave. And,
okay.
Sounded like somebody was using the Braille Sense.
In closing, oh, that was me actually turning speech back off, so that otherwise I would forget, and so I was just turning the voice back off. Before I hand it back over to you, Martin, I would just like to say thank you one more time for everyone who tuned in today. If you do have follow-up questions, I do want to give you my email address, and we're also going to give you Jeff's email address. Keep in mind that we are happy to we'll be happy to answer questions and all that type of stuff, but when you want to buy a product, we're going to send you back to Martin at Frontier Computing. It's our authorized dealer in Canada. But if you do have questions or would like to contact me after the webinar, my email address is Dave, D-A-V-E, at HIMS-INC, so that's HIMS-INC.com. And you'll notice a shocking pattern to our emails when I give you Jeff's email. His is Jeff, J-E-F-F, at HIMS-Inc.com. You will notice the striking similarity between the two of them. So again, I'm Dave and he's Jeff, and we're both at HIMS-Inc.com. Feel very free to contact us. I'd be more than happy to talk to you. Martin, it's all yours.
And I'll just give you while we're talking about email addresses, if you'd like to find out more about the Braille Sense and other HIMS products, we have them on our website at www.frontiercomputing.ca, or you can email sales@frontiercomputing.ca to request more information and pricing. I'd also like to mention briefly, and this is something that's not really set in stone yet in terms of what we're offering, but we're actually putting together I guess a live seminar on the Braille Sense. It's going to be taking place in Toronto. Essentially, the workshop will be geared primarily towards vision teachers. we've also had some interest in people attending with a student or two. So if you're interested in that, I would highly recommend that you contact us, and we can certainly provide you with more details as we sort of iron things out. Looking like we're going to be hosting that, I think mid to late November. So keep that in mind and check in with us for more details. We should have some kind of posting on our website, and that's being coordinated by Andrea Voss, so you'll likely be hearing from her in an email asking whether or not you're interested in joining up for that. So that's something to look forward to as well. I'd also just like to take a minute to thank Dave and Jeff for participating. We're going to be having another webinar in 2 weeks' time at the same time. So 2 weeks today, that's Tuesday, November the 18th, I believe.
Yeah, October the 18th.
Sorry, October.
Don't make the year go quicker than it already is.
Pardon me, October the 18th. Some of you who have already signed up for that second section, second session. So we look forward to that. And that will be on the other Braille products from HIMS, such as the Braille Edge 40, as well as the Smart Beetle. And so we look forward to hearing from Dave and Jeff in a couple of weeks' time. Anyways, we'll wrap things up, and thank you very much for attending. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Go Blue Jays. See you in a couple of weeks.